So this is the year we're coming into, and it even adds up to seven. And I just want to let you know what galactic year we're actually in. We're actually in a blue rhythmic storm year right now, and this, of course, aligns with what's happening right now. Storm is like transformative purge. It's very yang energy, and it brings self-generation. And we're coming to the end of that year. And how this lines up beautifully with what we're coming into is that a lot of people are really getting a sense of having to complete certain relationships. um, a lot of people have realized that they have to be quite inner, that there are new iterations of themselves coming through, and not to identify with certain old, 2.0 versions of themselves. So we are being really called to complete this purge now. We're in the final countdown of it. The good thing is that six number is very balanced. And I have felt since I was looking into this galactic year that there's something about our yin and our yang energy and the bringing a balance to that through this purge. And I really do see that a lot of people who have engendered wounding have really been doing a lot of very good work about that on that in this last year. And it feels like we're coming to a crescendo with what I'll be showing you later around what's going on in Vedic astrology. They're getting their mileage out of us in this last week because, as I say, today, I'll mention what it is, and then I'm going to go into it. We have been K2 and Mars have been in the same house for some time, but they're coming into the highest point of their conjunction, and it really comes into this deepest part of its conjunction today, and is in that for about a week, and then that finishes on the 28th, just after we come into the new galactic year. And I'll be talking about what that means, but it's definitely really it's deep, deep agitation and angst energy. All right. And then it also has this cross purpose, this energy. So there's a real sense that we're being pulled into transformation every which way, whether we know it or not. And there are also other things that have been taking place that I will speak to in the next slide. But what I want to say about this transition from blue rhythmic storm into yellow resonant seed is that when I was writing my book, I was looking, of course, at different astrological systems concurrently. And there is a real opening with coming into a year of resonance of us working beyond this karma trauma programming that has been the identifying factor for most codependent relationships and for, yeah, just keeping us in these loops. Okay. And to break that down, firstly, resonance. Resonance is a good thing. We want to be hanging around with people who resonate, not just people who are narcissistic to us or do not respect what we bring to the table. And resonance is an energetic. It's not unlike magnetism, but it's not the same as magnetism. There's certain energetics that have not got power dominion from one person to another. There comes as a shared value, and a lot of the colonial programming that we've been trying to purify from is always somebody's subordinate. Okay, and that's what's really rising to the surface right now, as people are saying we cannot have these crazy oligarchs and elites telling everybody how to do it, and not distributing the wealth, and this whole idea of colonial underpinning and perpetuation of perpetrator and victim, all of these things, this is something that's very up in the collective field. So, resonance is something that can lead us into an understanding that we have been doing our work to come out of these feudal trauma-based programming loops that have held us in attached to our ancestral realms as well. And that is what so many people are doing at this moment, is they're purifying mindfully the addictions, the violence, these strong things that are actually legacies of unprocessed karma that we are here to transform. And so the seed is the seed has a lot of hope. The seed wants to bring something through, to bring it into potential. But the seed is also, of course, that which we hold in our blueprint. And so the seed has importance, especially when we look at it in its traditional Mayan context. The seed actually transfers to being a net in that system, which precedes this system. And so how the Mayans looked at it was that this sign is all about this big net that you're carrying with all your stuff in it. Okay. And so, of course, when we're optimized, we're carrying all this really valuable stuff and we can help build our community with it. But the problem with seed energy is often we're holding all the rubbish from all our ancestors. And this is something that we're being asked to purify. And so there's a sense that we're coming into new partnerships and relationships. And this is signified in a lot of the different astrologies that we can see. And that in these coming weeks, it's coming up now that we've purified a lot. We're now asking, who am I in a new upgraded capacity? And it's about what are we going to seed together? And we're going to be starting to find these new formations of guilds and mini ecosystems. And it is by no chance that, for instance, I'm presenting on two different symposiums this month. Well, I've already done one about the new earth, and people are all talking about these new social groupings because it's in the timeline that a lot of projects were kind of doomed before now because it was all going to be based on these trauma karma relationships. And I'm not saying it's a done deal. I'm not saying that everybody's out of the woods yet with their healing journey, but there's a lot of optimism that we're now supposed to be seeding new projects and seeding new communities and new visions and new schools with this vibration of resonance because we're now meeting each other from a higher vibration than the wounded ancestral punch bag that many of us showed up as maybe even 3 years ago. For some people, this year will mark a deepening of that journey to make sure we're not just identified by our wounds and that our relationships are not just a mirror of that as well. So there's a lot that we can really seed awareness for in this coming year. And just to lay it down more fully as well, as I mentioned, tomorrow we go into the mirror wave spell. And this is why I can say with some conviction that this new interpersonal relationship of a kind of higher vibration of mirroring than that which we may have seen with our ancestors is there for the taking if we wish for it this year, because it takes place under a mirror wave spell. And mirror is all about these positive reflections, also the reflections that we need to see, that we need to work at. But there's a very deep interpersonal capacity for, or component, I should say, for what is taking place this galactic year. And so this is why I think that so many people have been in this purification process around these kind of relationships that don't feel right anymore, because it's a micro precision of how this has been whittled away for a lot of us. And this is why we have is a very fierce purification process and an agitation and an eruption of a lot of things because it's a cleanse. Often, we know a lot. I know a lot of people who are very perturbed about what's happening in the Middle East. But I think that we all agree that if we treat this the right way, it could be a war to end all wars. And in karma, you have to think if things have to purify. If something still is unprocessed, it still has to happen. You can't bypass karma. And so there's a sense that there's a massive purification of duality. And this is why this presentation is very much about duality, otherizing, conflict, all of these things. And then how this number 7 year, when we step into it the right way, can actually be a year where our whole bodily programming, our whole energetic center programming can shift to these new beings of resonance.